Hey, this is Anthony Cesari with Success for Your Songs, and in this video we're going to talk about how you can write stimulating melodies for an impactful song. And specifically I want to talk about how you can write melodies throughout your entire song. A lot of times when we talk about melody writing, it's specific to the hooks, but you do have to think about the melodies that happen in your verses and the other sections of your song as well. So I'm going to be playing a clip for you of an interview I did with Kevin Thomas of the website Songwriting Planet, where we discuss this topic. So check it out here.
And then, okay, so let's say you come up with a hook that you're confident in and that you want to be, the basis for your song, this sort of central part of your song, melodically. How do you kind of trickle that out to the rest of your song to get to your, to get to writing verses? Because someone might say, okay, fine, I wrote this, 3-note hook and I really like it. So now what? So does that hook inform other parts of your song, or are you just going to be writing, a fresh melody for, let's say, your verses and your bridge and that kind of thing?
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. It's with the song structure, with the verse-chorus song structure, it really doesn't have to be so related. You can have this real catchy hook for the chorus and something very different for the verse, as long as, the thing that's holding it together is that the verse and the chorus will usually be in the same key, so the notes will all be coming from the same scale. The tempo will be the same usually. It usually doesn't speed up or, go to a different time tempo or time signature for the other section. There's a lot of things holding it in place. The chord progressions might be different, but the chords are usually coming from the same key. So that will hold it together. So it can be very different. Whereas with what I mentioned earlier about some of these classical compositions, they would start with a motif, and you can hear as the piece develops, you could hear that motif. Sometimes it's stretched out, or sometimes it's fragmented into pieces and repeated, or sometimes it's repeated at a different pitch level and sequenced. And so you can hear stuff like that in music compositions where everything grows out of that original motif. So that's not so necessary with songwriting. It's nice when that happens, but it's not necessary because it is kind of these block sections. You got this verse, you got this chorus, and they're different. Sometimes a pre-chorus in between. There could be similarities with the phrasing, but there doesn't need to be. And if there's too much of a similarity, sometimes it kills it. It doesn't stand out enough. The next section, I often talk to people about how to make their verse, pre-chorus, and chorus different enough from each other because they're too similar. Because the phrases all start on the same beat every section, or everything starts at a similar pitch every section, or everything is a similar length. Any of those three things, it's a good idea to double check them and say, wouldn't it sound nicer if my chorus, had a longer phrase than the verse does, or a shorter one, or if it started on a different pitch, or if it started on a different beat of the measure? Those are three really good ones to check as soon as you want to stop your song from sounding too monotonous and see if you can kick it up another notch.
Yeah, and I think what you just talked about with some of these older classical songs where they might be based on a motif and that gets changed around from time to time throughout the song, that kind of thing, when it does happen in more modern songwriting, happens within a section. So you might see, a verse that has a melodic motif and then it's added to and then it's subtracted to, but that kind of stays within the verse. Same thing with your chorus. You'll have a separate motif there and then that gets manipulated within the chorus. And then you won't really hear that again in the verse or the bridge. So that's just it becomes more compartmentalized, I think, in modern songwriting.
That's right. That's true. And, sometimes you do hear stuff like in the intro, there's a melodic hook with just a melody played on an instrument. And then you get to the chorus and it turns out that melodic hook was the hook for the chorus.
Right.
Or the bridge or an instrumental interlude. So once in a while, it's really nice when you hear that because you don't hear it that much, but when you get something that's foreshadowed in an earlier section, and then it comes out in that next section.
Yeah.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed the information we just talked about. If you'd like to leave a comment on what you just heard, you can feel free to do that below. Also, if you don't have our free ebook yet called How to Write a Song, Techniques from the Hits, Volume 1, I've also got a link for you to grab that below. And finally, Kevin Thomas of Songwriting Planet has an entire ebook dedicated to melody writing that's called Melody Madness, and I've also included a link for that for you below. So thanks again for checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.